In today's episode of Fight News, we have 11 new fight announcements, updates from UFC 311, UFC 313 card, and Dagestan vs Ireland 2, and more. To keep you updated with the fight world, let's start from Conor McGregor vs Logan Paul update. I'm the Indian accent guy, and you are on the Fight Book. Chael Sonnen reacts to the news of Conor McGregor vs Logan Paul in India this April and says that he doesn't believe Conor vs Paul exhibition will ever happen. But then Conor McGregor himself confirmed the news via his latest tweet that the reports of him earning $250 million in this fight are true. But then Boxing Kingdom reports that the Conor McGregor vs Logan Paul news at Wembley Stadium is incorrect. They claim a credible source confirmed them that the location and date hasn't been discussed and the sum of money is also incorrect. Both fighters are using this incorrect information only for PR to stay in the news. So currently we don't have anything official, but if this exhibition gets made, it would really be a massive fight. Now let's talk about upcoming PPV UFC 311. Jon Jones coach Brendan Gibson gave a forecast for the fight and said that Islam will dominate the fight and this rematch will not be as close as their first fight. For your information, Arman Tsarukyan is one of the only fighters to take down Islam Makhachev in his entire UFC career, and he did it on his debut and on short notice at 22-year-old. Arman looks ready and he says he has a special trick prepared for Islam Makhachev that will apparently change the whole course of the fight, so there is no way this won't be one of the most high-level fights of 2025. Nurmagomedov reveals via ESPN that he doesn't think Merab Dvalishvili as his toughest challenge. He said his hardest fight in the division was Corey Sandhagen and that Merab Dvalishvili is not an easy fight but not tougher than Sandhagen. His manager Ali Abdulaziz says Umar has the ability to be as good or better than Khabib Nurmagomedov. I'll believe them if Umar really beats Merab Dvalishvili next weekend in Las Vegas. Number 1 contender of the division, Sean O'Malley, has his eyes on the winner of this fight as he believes he is gonna get the title shot in his return bout in mid-2025. UFC 311 man card fighter and top 10 lightweight Beneil Dariush hints at retirement ahead of his fight against Renato Moicano. He said if he can't beat top level fighters and gets out of the rankings, then he doesn't want to do this anymore. Another lightweight fighting on the same card, Grant Dawson, has a new approach to fighting so that he doesn't become the Belal Muhammad of his division. He only lost 1 out of his 12 UFC fights, yet he is still unranked. So no surprise, he wants to be an exciting fighter. Following week of UFC 311, Khabib's another undefeated cousin Usman Nurmagomedov will be defending his Bellator lightweight belt against Irish contender Paul Hughes. Speaking about that fight, Khabib Nurmagomedov stated via PFL, there is a big difference between the level of MMA in Dagestan and Ireland. Dagestan have champs in every major MMA promotion, but Ireland has no one except Conor McGregor or Paul Hughes. Paul Hughes claps back at Khabib's criticism of Irish MMA and called Dagestanis number 1 at juicing, referring Usman's failed drug test in 2023 and Islam's failed drug test in 2016. Conor McGregor also went off on Khabib in his now deleted tweets, and other UFC fighters like Darren Till also shares their thoughts in defense of Irish MMA. But Khabib stays firm and further explains his thoughts about the skill difference between Dagestani and Irish fighters, saying you can only name 1 or 2 good Irish fighters. Surprisingly, the undisputed pound-for-pound emoji king Tony Ferguson also went off on Khabib in the comment section of his tweet. Tony also says his fight news is coming soon, so we now can expect another title run. Donald Cerrone is also back in the testing pool and wants to return to the UFC in mid-2025 at 185 pounds. He wants 2 more fights in the UFC to be the first one to have 50 fights under Zuffa banner. In his final 7 UFC fights, he went 0-6-1 and was finished 5 times. Colby Covington was seen feeding the homeless on his Twitch stream and wishing them a Happy New Year.
God bless, man. Happy New Year. Happy New Year!
Moreover, he finally stopped giving excuses for his recent loss and responded to Chael Sonnen's remarks that he was ready to throw in the towel if the doctor hadn't stopped the fight. Colby says, if Chael Sonnen was ready to throw in the towel at UFC Tampa fight, he knew I can't see. Ali Abdulaziz gives updates about his 2 more fighters and says an interim bantamweight title fight is being discussed for Kayla Harrison if Juliana Pena is unavailable, and that Bilal Muhammad will be fighting sometime in May 2025. Number 7 ranked welterweight Ian Gary says in his mind he is ranked just behind champion and the challenger and will be ready to step in for a title fight if needed. Sean Strickland recently talked shit about Muslims via X and believes that Islam should stay in Islamic countries and not in America. Muslim fighters like Bilal Muhammad and Nasruddin Imavov couldn't stop themselves from reacting to his rant. Imavov is, by the way, a big underdog against Israel Adesanya for their UFC Saudi Arabia main event, and most of the UFC fighters are picking Adesanya to beat him on February 1st. Israel Adesanya is fighting on a fight night card after almost 7 years, but doesn't feel anything different headlining a non-PPV card. He says he has made adjustments since his fight against Dricus du Plessis and is ready to get back on the top. Now let's talk about the new fight announcements. Yanal Ashmouz is out of his fight against Nurulov Aliyev this week. Aliyev will now fight Joe Solecki at UFC Vegas 101 on January 11th. Andreas Gustafsson is also out from this weekend's card, and replacing him is Jacoby Smith, who will fight Preston Parsons on short notice this weekend. Mansoor Abdulmalik vs Antonio Truccoli is set for UFC Seattle on February 22nd. Charles Johnson, looking for his 5th straight win, will fight at UFC Vegas 103 on March 1st versus Ramazan Temirov, who is riding a 10-fight win streak. Diyar Nurgoze will fight Branson Ribeiro, and Sam Hughes will fight Stephanie Luciano at UFC Vegas 104 on March 15th. Vitor Petrino vs Jonathan Denise is set for a heavyweight clash for UFC 313, where Petrino will be moving up to the heavyweight division. Ozzy Diaz takes on Jordan Santos in a middleweight clash. Carlos Leal vs Alex Morono is set for a welterweight clash. Myron Santos will fight Francis Marshall in a featherweight clash, and Bruno Silva will fight Joshua Van in a flyweight clash at UFC 313 on March 8th. The UFC have booked 9 Brazilians across 7 fights currently confirmed for UFC 313 in March. As Alex Pereira has previously said, he wishes to return in March, so it could be a possibility that Pereira returns at UFC 313 but not against Magomed Ankalaev as per his previous tweet. Pereira's previous opponent Khalil Rountree Jr. explains he was happy losing to Alex Pereira despite being finished in the 4th round because he had proved he belonged there. And lastly, today's video also ends with absolutely heartbreaking news. Paddy Pimblett's former training partner, a 26-year-old MMA prospect from New Zealand, Hakaraya Wilson, has died. According to Paddy Pimblett, he had taken his own life. I don't always like Pimblett's persona, but he is 100% right here. Speak with someone, don't need to go that extreme path. May he rest in peace. And that's all in this video. Now I'll see you tomorrow with more and latest updates. So till then, do whatever you want.